There is a naysayer to the future of AI that I really enjoy, and I've never heard much pushback about this. I've never like gone looking for pushback on this, but like this to me is really fascinating. And I'm gonna play this video of this guy Peter Zeihan,
Mhm.
and I want to get your take on what you think about this. So this is Peter Zeihan explaining why the AI future that we've been envisioning here is not going to happen.
Third, and I think this is going to short circuit this whole discussion, we're not going to be able to do AI at all. The chips that are necessary to do artificial intelligence are all under 7 nanometers, and the ones that show the most promise are under 3 nanometers. Any chip that is under 10 has a supply chain that is the most sophisticated and fragile of any supply chain humans have ever invented. There are 30,000 pieces, there are 100,000 supply chain steps, there are 9,000 companies, and there are over 4,500 single point failures in that system. So if one mid-sized country falls out of the coalition of 80 that are necessary to do these chips, the whole thing stops. And it's not going to restart until we have rebuilt that ecosystem in a new form that is more geopolitically stable and demographically sustainable. And we will not finish that process within 15 years. So I like the AI discussion. I really do. I'm actually kind of thrilled in this country that we're discussing the implications of a technology before it's here. That is not like us. But we've got until at least the 2040s to figure this out.
Just to clarify, so you don't consider ChatGPT to be AI? What do you have?
No, I think it
in
is. I love ChatGPT 4.0, and I think some of the things that we're achieving with AI in terms of programming is great. The way it's displacing people who were semi-information based, things like paralegals and accountants, I think is interesting. I think it's something that we should obviously work on and move the chips as far as we can, as fast as we can. What I'm saying is there's a hard break coming. The chips that we use for AI are graphics processing units. They were designed for gaming consoles. They were not designed for AI, but they can run multiple things in process, and that's why they're good for application for large language models. We have yet to build our first true AI designed chip. They're hoping to have the designs finished this calendar year. They are hoping to have your first facility in Taiwan making those chips by the end of 2027, and they are hoping to be able to make enough of those chips to start the first true AI data center by the end of 2029. So GPUs are tiny; they're the size of a postage stamp. The ones that are going to be designed to run on the servers are the size of a record, if you remember what a record is, a dinner plate. Let's go with dinner plate, and has built-in cooling into it. The idea is that you drop the cost of operating per computation. Um, that's probably not, that's almost certainly not going to happen. We're not going to be able to continue making our sub 10 nanometer GPUs either. So what's probably going to happen is we're going to fall back to an older generation of semiconductor manufacturer that is not nearly as vulnerable to geopolitical disruptions. But the best chips we can make with those technologies are 14 nanometer. So we get chips that, from our point of view, are several years old, trying to run a current model on, and the processing capacity just isn't there.
Okay, so what do you think about that critique? And I enjoy this because nobody ever talks about the hardware component and the supply
Right.
chain involved. People talk about energy all the time. People talk about we might have a hard stop with energy and then we just can't progress with this because like we run out of energy and that's a hard stop. But like in terms of the actual chips involved, I don't know. Like it's interesting to me that no one ever talks about that. And that let's just say 2 years from now when we might get to AGI, we
Mhm.
don't because that required another like just the latest shipment of chips to come into Apple or Google or Microsoft. They didn't get them, and then so they just never reached that next step or something like that, right? Like I don't know, but what do you make of that?
Well, I think like okay, yeah, he is right to say that it is an extraordinarily sophisticated supply chain. And there are all kinds of export controls being implemented now to stop China from basically dominating a lot of this. But every time they do something like this, they try and stop China. China like seems to make quite a few leaps and bounds ahead, right? I mean, they're able to basically get around a lot of these export controls And now they're trying to say that, oh, okay, like ASML cannot sell EUV lithography to China, and then China is saying to themselves, well, we might as well just build it ourselves, right? Instead, and then okay, we can't use TSMC for certain H100s or like high-end chips. Well, we'll just start doing it and we'll build our own indigenous industry, right? And so that has become the trend where, you know, the United States is trying to stop China from doing all these things, and China's just managing to do it and scaring a lot of people in the process, right? But I think ultimately they want to do business, right? They want to do business globally, right? And, you know, basically getting into this larger conflict with the United States and shutting down the world market for chips, if this is like, you know, what could perhaps happen. I don't think that's really where their mind is at. I think they want to do business globally. And I think that, you know, what you're going to see is that there's just this geopolitical push because there's this, you know, conflict emerging. But this geopolitical push is going to like really throw a lot of money and a lot of sophisticated people at the problem of AI, right? I mean, you look at Mark Zuckerberg, he's spending $100 million for like AI researchers, right? I mean, that's insane money, right? And so it's going at a very fast pace, and you're going to see some of the smartest minds in the world basically coalescing in this field to build the gray hardware and build new models that can actually run on hardware and use less power. So there's all kinds of different strategies being utilized here. I mean, this is why people were so shocked with DeepSeek, right? DeepSeek was a real, you know, shock to people because it's like, wait, how do they even have the hardware to run this model in the way they and achieve the results that they were getting, right? And it's because, you know, they had a sophisticated way of approaching building their model. It wasn't so necessary for them to have the highest end stuff. So, you know, I think that is like, you're going to find a lot of people working really diligently on making sure that these models are quite efficient and are benchmarked against, you know, the latest and greatest. And then you're going to see a lot of open source stuff happening here too. It's already happening, right? And Facebook kind of led the way, Meta led the way with Llama. And so, yeah, is hardware always going to be the limiting factor here? It may not be. It may not be. And I think, you know, you're going to have some great sophisticated minds working on hardware, making it even more potent, making it even more fine-tuned towards the AI, towards AI models, rather than being a gaming thing, right? And so he is right to say that, you know, NVIDIA kind of got its start, you know, basically building GPUs for games. And, you know, that's how I knew them back in the day. It was all about the games. But now, I mean, even, you know, after that, I mean, it was, you know, utilized for crypto mining, and now it's being utilized for AI, right? And so these types of things are just going to get more and more sophisticated. And I don't know. I think global mental energy is coalescing around doing better and better work here and trying to, like, you know, build the greatest model. So I don't know. It seems like everything is going in the direction economically, you know, geopolitically, towards something like an AGI, right? And it's going to happen at some point in time. Maybe it's already been achieved, but I don't see any limiting factor here with hardware.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, there is that fact that we just don't know at all what the actual latest models are. Zoltan, who just got a master's degree from Oxford, working with some of the smartest people in this field, told us recently that there are people that he's talked to who are just kind of like, oh yeah, we're basically there. We just can't release it to the public, like that sort of thing. And Zoltan isn't the only person who I've heard say this. Like, people have said this before. So, and all the top people are like genuinely freaked out about where we're at right now, let alone where we'll be in a couple of years from now. I also think that in general, I really value Peter Zeihan's analysis because he makes me think in a different way, and it makes me like look up potential problems that I didn't even think about, you know? And I think that's fascinating. But I have noticed, having listened to him for a while and read some of his books, that he does always kind of discount the idea that, like, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And also the power of money to overcome things that would be impossible, that you can sometimes just kind of like force it through with money. And I bet that a company as well resourced as Alphabet or Meta, or I mean, a lot of these, like Microsoft as well, OpenAI, I bet that they have a very like locked in view of where the potential fall points are, and they probably have some sort of like redundancy built in there. I'm sure not throughout the whole entire supply chain, but I bet that Tim Cook or whoever has something like, okay, if this whole entire factory in China goes offline tomorrow, is not going to happen like the day after tomorrow, but we're going to have this other factory in India that's going to like come online at 6 months.
Oh,
from
yeah.
now. You know what I mean? I'm sure they have some
Yeah.
idea of redundancies.
Yeah.
That's like part of their game plan. If they don't, they're idiots. Like, and they're not idiots. So
Right, yeah. They're not. I mean, they're very smart, and they also have like a religious fervor to them, right? I mean, they talk about the cult of AI. I mean, some of the ways people talk about this, it's like, you know, you're building the most important thing ever. It's like they're on a crusade, right? So, like, you know, are these like limiting factors, geopolitics, and all these other things really going to stop somebody like that who's just really like utterly committed to this? And how many great minds are utterly committed to this, right? And you know, the way they view it is sort of this religious fervor. Yeah, maybe, but I think these people are really, really damn committed to doing whatever it takes to bring an AGI into reality, and they think it's going to be something that's just going to be globally beneficial. We will all benefit from it. It's debatable, but like I think at the end of the day, like why I come to like, you know, thinking UBI and some of these other policies make sense is because, you know, the velocity of change. You're having these great minds kind of come together on this like crusade that they're on to build AGI and how that's going to like rapidly change our lives. I mean, we need to have like some policies set in stone to like actually help people deal with the fact that their life is going to be massively disrupted by what they're building. And yeah, so that's where I'm at on that.
Yeah, my only other hot take is that cliche, but the future is not going to be evenly distributed. And
Yeah.
so I do think that the government will need to have to play a major role in just helping out the people who are the have-nots.
Yeah.
And, I'm not a fan of Zoran Mamdani's framing of this, but I
Yeah.
am a fan of the automated abundance economy and just like leaning into that framing, that like optimistic framing where people are able to like maintain their sense of humanity and like they're not relying on the government. Like that's the framing of communism, that you rely on the government. The automated abundance economy, it just has a different framing that I like more. But at the
Yep.
same time, there might come a time where even communism itself does not seem like such a scary thing. It did not work in the 20th century. Maybe in the 22nd century, it actually does work, and this is the automated luxury communism
Right.
concept. And like, human history is a weird ass thing. It's weird. And we're here for like the long haul, hopefully. So some of the concepts that we're like terrified of and that have been utter failures, I don't know, who knows? Maybe that will be something that we'll have to take advantage of in the future. One thing that I talk about on this podcast every now and then is that like, I don't think that when we're building civilizations on Mars, we're going to have like the American way of like government. We're just not going to have like the 3 branches of government. Here's the Constitution. It's going to be different. It's probably going to be more like a Curtis Garvin style CEO run government.
Right. Elon is the king of Mars. Yeah.
So I think that we need to like keep our minds somewhat open to the possibilities of things that we all now see as like catastrophes. They're ideas that might actually somehow be relevant in the future. So I don't know. Yep. That's my hot take.
And this is not like even outside of history too. I mean, the East India Company, for instance, like became such a big thing. It became a global power in the same way you would imagine a country having like global power, right? And so why can't you imagine companies in the future being sort of, I mean, I think they already exist in this fashion, but yeah, when it comes to like, colonizing space, right? It's like, why wouldn't a company like SpaceX be like the leader of Mars, right? Or like have Elon as the king of Mars. So I think it is definitely going in that direction. And I think Elon is a little bit perturbed by this whole AI thing too. I mean, his takes on it are, I think he's a bit more doomerish about it. I think it troubles him.
He's
like
emotional.
Like,
he's a little emotional about it.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah, but it's hard to know. I mean, again, like some people think that like if you look at some of these open AI guys and what they tweet, it just sounds like they're just like in part of a cult, like they're in front of a cauldron and like they're a bunch of wizards like bringing this thing into life. And what you make of that is like, yeah, I mean, you could imagine spirituality being built upon this. I think I saw on Polymarket one time like they were taking a bet by like 2030 people would be worshiping AI gods. I think that
interesting.
be up. Yeah.
Nice.
So
I'm all about the possibility of having religion merge with technology. I just think that it's fascinating and goofy and kind of cartoonish, and I'm kind of here for it.